Hey, this is Dave. Thanks for joining us for episode 4 of Living an Abundant Life. Today we're going to look at our very first real estate purchase, the very first home that Darlene and I bought together. See you in just a sec. I've always had a love for real estate. I remember back when I was about 20 years old, my uncle was a realtor, and one Thanksgiving I spent about an hour to an hour and a half in his office, and we just talked about real estate, and he walked me through the process of buying a home, what was needed, talked about mortgages, talked about mortgage rates. It was just something that I loved having that discussion. It was so helpful to me. It kind of gave me a shot in the arm about what I wanted to do and how I wanted to be involved in real estate for the rest of my life. So for the next year, I proceeded to try to save enough money to be able to buy a home. I lived in San Diego at the time, and I was going to be moving up to Oregon, and houses were considerably cheaper in Oregon than in California, and so I had this goal of saving $10,000. I got close. I saved $8,000 in the next 10 months, moved up to Oregon, moved in with my grandma with the full intent of buying a home, and I spent the next few months looking at houses and doing some research on it, and I was ready, but something was just not right. Something just didn't feel right. And I just thought, you know what? I've got to get the rest of my life in order before I go ahead and jump into buying a house. So my first suggestion for you on buying your first home is that your timing may not be the right timing. So I needed to go to school. I needed to get my degree. I knew I wanted to be an accountant. I needed to take the time, slog through that process, and make that happen. It ended up being one of the better decisions in my life. It was one of those decisions where if I would have gone this way, my life would have been substantially different. Instead, I went this way. And I'm real happy with the way my life has turned out. So number one, your timing may not be the best timing. You need to wait for the best timing. Rule number 2 for buying your house, your first house, is that you need to have no credit card debt. Okay, that's tough for some of you, but really you've got to get that taken care of. If you go into buying a house and you have credit card debt, consumer debt, it's just gonna weigh on you, and you're gonna have so many months where you have too much month and not enough money. So you need to pay that down, and really optimally, you need to not have a car debt as well. You need to have your cars paid off. So rule number 2, no consumer debt. That's a tough one. So here's a look at our house that we bought. This is present day. This house stayed in our family for about 20 years. Rule number 3 for buying your first house. You need to have 20% down payment. I know many of you are probably saying, what are you talking about? Houses are $315,000 on average now. That's $63,000. How do you do that? I feel for you. I don't know how the younger generation is doing it nowadays. But I have some suggestions. One, if you can get rid of that consumer debt, that's going to go a long ways towards you being able to save some additional money. If you wait for the right timing, may have some time to save that additional money. If you really want a house, now is the time to get that second job and just plow that money into savings. If you have too nice of a car, maybe you need to downgrade your car. You could probably, if you have a nice car, you could probably save $10,000 or more just by doing that one thing. And that would be a pretty easy one. Or if you have you and your spouse have two or three cars, now may be the time to downsize the number of cars you have. You're going to have to make some sacrifice to get that house and to not have it just wear you down. So rule number 3, you need to come up with 20% down payment. The other reason why you need to come up with 20% down payment is that that's the cutoff where you're not required by the mortgage company to buy mortgage insurance. Let's say you buy a $350,000 house and you only put down 10%. That's not the right word, because that's still $35,000. But let's say you put down 10% so that you still owe $315,000 on that house. Mortgage insurance costs you between 0.5% and 1.5%. So let's just say it's 1%. Okay, so mortgage insurance is going to cost you 1%. On $315,000, that 1% is $3,150 a year. That's roughly $260 to $265 a month. So by not putting that additional 10%, your payment is going to be as much as $265 more per month because of that. And that doesn't pay down your house. That's just insurance. If you're thinking this is a racket, I think it is too. But this is what the banks require. Whereas if you can come up with that additional 10%, now instead of owing $315,000 on that house, you're going to owe $280,000 on that house. Your mortgage payment's going to be less, and you're not going to have this mortgage insurance payment. So you're probably saving somewhere in the neighborhood of $350 a month by putting 20% down on the house. That's where you're going to get the biggest bang for your buck right off the bat, making sure you put 20% down on your house. That's rule number 3. The last one, get your own real estate agent. This is one where Darlene and I made a big mistake. We went to this open house for this house that we bought, and the realtor was there, and she was a wonderful lady, and we really liked her. She was the seller's agent. And we just thought, she's so nice. Let's just go ahead and have her be our agent as well. While she didn't do anything egregiously bad, it was just obvious throughout the whole process that she was representing the seller's needs much more than our needs. You need to have somebody that's going to represent your needs and your needs alone. To recap, number 1, your timing may not be the best timing. It'll take some discipline to not buy the house on your timing, to wait till the timing's right. Number 2, you need to not have any credit card debt. And if you can not have any debt at all, meaning your cars are paid off, that is the best. Number 3, you need to put 20% down payment on your house. And number 4, you need to have your own realtor. So we held that, like I said, we owned that house for about 10 years, and then we rented it out for about 4 years. Our biggest mistake on that was that we rented out our first home. Our first home we poured our life into. I mean, we really did. It was just, Darlene and I had only been married for a year. The kids were young, and the memories we had in that house, and then the work that we put into that house, it just made it a very special place for us. But the first tenants that we got for our first house, they did not take care of it. They lived in it for about a year, and when they moved out, the yard and the backyard was overgrown. They'd broken things on the inside that they didn't repair. They'd messed up a couple doors, and it was just heartbreaking to us. We then rented to an older couple who was in a transition stage, and they were great renters, no problems there. And then we rented it to my parents, and they were great renters, no problems there. But I recommend that you do not rent out your first home. Now, when you sell it though, you need again to get your own real estate agent. Same deal as when you're buying it. You need to find somebody that's an arm's length away from you so that you can speak frankly to them, they can speak frankly to you, but you need an agent. You need somebody to help you price your house correctly. And then lastly, you need to live in your house for at least 2 years. From a tax standpoint, that's the best way possible. You're going to see appreciation on the house. You're going to pay down your loan a certain amount. And then if you've lived in it at least 2 years and you sell it, you don't have to pay any taxes on it. So optimal is that you need to live in your new house for 2 years. So again, get your own real estate agent. Don't make your first home a rental. And lastly, live in your house for 2 years. This was our first house. It set us on a journey for the next 20 plus years, almost 30 years now, of buying and selling real estate. I plan on sharing more of our history in real estate over the next 100 videos, and I look forward to discussing what we did with you all and then hopefully getting some feedback. So press that like button and subscribe, and I really appreciate you joining me today. I hope you have a great day.